Hi everyone, we are Rachel and Sasha, and our presentation is on grief and bereavement as it relates to pet loss. Our work was largely informed by the work and services at the Schwarzman Animal Medical Center in Manhattan, New York. The AMC is the world's largest nonprofit animal hospital that provides medical care, clinical research, and educational programs in service of quality pet care and nourishing the bond between families and their companion animals, and between animals and their medical providers. Thanks to Susan Cohen, she's a pioneer of veterinary social work. The AMC has integrated veterinary social work values in their vision and mission since 1982. Veterinary social work is a subspecialty of social work that applies social work principles and practices to support people and communities in coping with the human-animal bond and the challenges associated with animal-related issues. Veterinary social workers collaborate with veterinarians, animal welfare organizations, social service agencies, and others. The four areas of veterinary social work are grief and bereavement, intentional well-being, the link between human and animal violence, and animal-assisted interventions.
Alrighty, we had the opportunity to interview Judith Harbour, who is the full-time licensed clinical social worker at the AMC. She received her BA from Rice University, her MSW from Fordham, and she's completed the postgrad veterinary social work certificate program from the University of Tennessee. She joined the AMC in 2019 and works to address the grief issues that are listed on this slide. So you can read through those at your leisure. But we really wanted to highlight a few, including being present before, during, and/or after euthanasia, providing resources about an animal's diagnosis, treatment, and the grief process, and providing support to those who have to give up their pet for some reason, whether that be for housing instability, financial hardship, relocation, or health issues. And Judith's primary clients are referred to her by the AMC's medical team. The AMC clients can take advantage of up to 3 one-on-one sessions with Judith, in addition to participating in a free pet loss support group. The support group is open to all, even those who are not clients of the AMC who are ages 18 and over. The sessions are held virtually via Zoom, and they're divided into 2 groups that meet for 2-hour-long sessions. There's one group that meets twice a month for those experiencing acute loss, so loss within the past 3 months, and another group that meets 1 time per month for people experiencing loss within the past year. And the purpose of splitting up the groups is to better address Warden's 4 tasks of mourning. Each group is capped at 30 people per session. So the AMC is really a very high volume animal medical center that sees around 55,000 visits per year and about 80 euthanasias per week. So one of her biggest challenges is meeting capacity. She is the only full-time social worker on staff, and ideally there would be more resources to build relationships with other veterinary professionals to communicate the value and the need to implement veterinary social work practices in these medical spaces.
Before we continue, it is important to explore the human-animal bond. The human-animal bond is a term used to describe the emotional attachment and affection that a person has with their companion animal. As the role of the pet has moved from task-oriented to companion-oriented, the scientific community has begun to recognize the significance and the strength of the human-animal bond. While companion animals have been recognized for their vast contribution to human lives, grief over the loss of a pet can be considered disenfranchised because of its stigma. Much of society still considers pets to be replaceable, which in turn makes the bereaved owner's grief feel illegitimate and can create a shameful experience. The degree of attachment and bond between the owner and the pet influences the psychological distress the owner might experience after the loss of the pet. The pet owner's reaction to the loss of their pet is a highly individualized process. Some may show deep emotional distress, while others show little overt signs of their distress. Secondary losses may occur when there is a disruption in activities and routines because of the loss, and roles in a family may shift after the pet is no longer part of the family system.
So when we addressed population demographics during our interview with Judith, we learned that at the AMC, they do not intake client demographics. And while she does sometimes have sessions with families that have children, the majority of her clients are adults within a very wide age range. The majority of attendees at the peer support groups are white women, and their socioeconomic status varies widely from those who are unhoused to the super rich. And here we can see a graph that represents 2020 data published in the 2022 American Veterinary Medical Association's Pet Ownership and Demographics Sourcebook. So here we can see that behind dogs and cats, fish are the most popular pet, followed closely behind are birds. And outside of that, we see a variability in population, including reptiles, livestock, amphibians, and many more. And then if we move over to this slide, we can see that households with income over 100,000 per year were the most likely to own pets, with 63% being dog owners and 40% being cat owners. People in the 25 to 54 age group are most likely to be pet owners, with 35 to 44-year-olds being the highest rate of ownership at 75%.
So in this slide, we can see a graph depicting residence type and home ownership status for pet owners. Although the AVMA does not report on this population, we would like to highlight the prevalence of the animal bond with people experiencing homelessness. The homeless population is highly marginalized and diverse in character. Overrepresented groups include people who have physical and mental disabilities, they have substance use problem, and are member of racialized groups and the LGBTQI plus community. Pets are viewed as a stable source of social support and companionship, which is often absent in the lives of people experiencing homelessness. Approximately 1 in 10 people experiencing homelessness have pets. This can provide an opportunity to give and receive unconditional love, an experience that may be otherwise difficult to have while living without a home. Finally, homelessness often forces people to choose actually between competing needs for shelter and housing, income, food, and healthcare. Because of most health and homeless sector services do not accommodate companion animals, pet owners face additional barriers to addressing their unmet needs.
And this then leads us to discussing other challenges and needs of healthy grieving and contributing factors to complicated grief. So we know that the human-animal bond and those relationships have been associated with many benefits, including increased physical activity, reduced pain, better sleep, improved feelings of safety and security, emotional support, sense of purpose, greater perceptions of acceptance, and increased opportunities for social relationships. So given all of those benefits, losing those benefits when a companion animal dies can cause significant challenges. So the pet may be a link to a beloved spouse, partner, friend, child, sibling, a loved one who has passed away. So that death of their pet may trigger past grief. For elderly, the pet's death may trigger sadness in the realization that it may be unwise or unfair to adopt a pet who may outlive them. And some pet owners may forego necessary treatments or stay in unsafe conditions rather than lose their animals. So you may see this in examples of natural disaster evacuation scenarios when people want to stay with their pets. 63% of children with pets will experience the death of their pet in their first 7 years of life. So this is likely to be one of the first major losses that a child experiences. The griever may live alone or a very far distance away from family and friends. So the loss of their pet could mean the loss of their primary companion. And in domestic violence scenarios, pets may be used as a form of coercion and control to prevent help-seeking behaviors.
During our interview with Judy, and discussing various frameworks for pet loss intervention, she referenced Warden's four tasks of mourning that can empower the bereaved to actively engage with the grief process. Our research also found this eight-piece framework that complement words for tasks. They are represented here. We'll explore a few in more details. So the first one and the most important one is acknowledgement of grief. Many people may not understand the depth of grief experienced after losing a pet, leading to feelings of isolation or invalidation. It's essential for individuals to acknowledge their grief as valid and seek support.
So two would be acceptance of emotions. So people can experience a very wide range of emotions, including sadness, guilt, anger, or even relief after the loss of a pet. So accepting and processing these emotions is crucial for healthy grieving.
3, closure and ritual. Creating personalized rituals or ceremonies to honor the pet's memory can be beneficial in finding closure.
4 is self-care. Grieving pet owners may neglect their own well-being while focusing on the needs of their pet. So engaging in self-care, including exercise, relaxation techniques, and of course, seeking professional help when needed is essential.
5, support network. Having a supportive network of friends, family, or pet loss support groups can provide comfort and understanding during the grieving process.
6 is adjustment to routine. Because pets often play significant roles in our daily routines and lives and provide companionship, adjusting to life without their presence can be very challenging. So finding new activities to fill the void left by the pet.
7, memorialization. Creating memorials or keepsakes in honor of the pet's memory can provide comfort and serve as a tangible reminder of the bond shared with the pet.
And 8 are future plans. So some people may struggle with the decision about future pet ownership because that may introduce the possibility of losing another pet in the future. So counseling or support groups can help navigate those complex feelings and decisions. So here we've reviewed sort of this 8-piece framework, and we do want to explore 3 in more detail. The step number 3 is closure and rituals. So this can include a type of funeral type ceremony. So if it's a family with children, the children can write notes or include toys to be buried with the animal. If the animal was cremated, ashes can be buried or scattered in a favorite place. And we found research that shows that human-style pet eulogies can be a very powerful tool in celebrating the life of the deceased to publicly validate their loss and facilitate that loss within a strength and positive-based framework. So here we see an example of this by the American playwright Eugene O'Neill and his text, The Last Will and Testament of an Extremely Distinguished Dog. This is a really lovely read, and we've linked to the full text, but here's an excerpt. One last word of farewell, dear master and mistress. Whenever you visit my grave, say to yourselves with regret, but also with happiness in your hearts at the remembrance of my long, happy life with you. Here lies one who loved us and whom we loved. No matter how deep my sleep, I shall hear you, and not all the power of death can keep my spirit from wagging a grateful tail.
Step 5 is support network. During our interview, Judy shared that connection and community are a vital part of processing pet loss. Grief can be isolating. The ability to be with others in their ecosystem that they feel safe with can help processing the grief. Here is a model for a pet loss support group. The first one is the meeting should be led by a clinician who is licensed in the state where the group is held.
The second step is informed consent. So participants should complete an informed consent document and can be given a waiver to sign that would authorize the inclusion of their anonymous information in research to help promote pet loss awareness and support for grieving pet owners.
The third step, the first event of the meeting will be to review the informed consent that all members have signed and address the ground rules of the group session.
And then the session would move on to brief introductions of the clinician and the group members who are present.
Step 5, the facilitator will present psychoeducational information that will acknowledge the important role of animals in our lives and the human-animal bond that is developed over time.
Step 6, the group members would be invited to share about their own experiences and process their grief with each other and the group leader. Participants could choose to bring in pictures or mementos of their lost pet to share with the group.
Step 7, the group leader will facilitate the discussion, providing validation, redirection, invitation to share, and comfort to members as needed.
And in closing, the group leader may ask participants to share an example of something humorous or lighthearted that they remember about their pet. And then the group would be closed with an invitation to return at a following session if desired.
Step 7, you have the memorialization. Just like there is no wrong way to grieve, there is no wrong way to commemorate your pet's life. Here are just a few ways people can carry their pet's memory into their next chapter of life. So as you see on the left, you see a representation of a living memorial in the form of planting a tree. This can be planted in the backyard or a park you visited together or any other location that was meaningful. There are several companies that facilitate this service. We've linked the tree remember. On the right, you see the example of a memorial frame that may include mementos such as the pet's color or favorite toys. You can find many small businesses that provide this type of custom products. We've linked them to some on Etsy.
Alrighty, and so our final piece of this project concludes with implications for social workers and a call to action for all of you. So we really hope to highlight the need for social workers to consult with veterinary professionals to become informed and to decrease pet loss stigma. Right now, many veterinary hospitals are not aware of the field of veterinary social work practices. It is an emerging field that requires interdisciplinary teams to address patient outcomes, client experience, and caregiver support.
Additional research is necessary to advance the field of human-animal connection and inform the impact of companion animal loss. Whether that be in a PhD or other endeavor, more evidence-based research can help redefine pet loss, which is currently seen as stigmatized and disenfranchised grief.
And for folks who are going to be working in a macro setting, it is very important to advocate for homeless shelters and emergency response teams and other agencies to adopt inclusive policies that welcome and recognize the value of companion animals.
In a clinical setting, specifically inquire and ask caring questions about the human-animal bond and attachment type. Unless a client is referred directly for pet bereavement concerns, it can be difficult for a clinician to detect how this issue may be affecting the pet owner. To begin to decrease the stigma of pet bereavement, social workers can routinely inquire about pets when gathering information about the client's family background and home life.
And our final thought, interestingly, as many of us are going to be graduating soon, we do assume a personal responsibility for continuing our professional education beyond this MSW program. So we have attached a link to the University of Tennessee's veterinary medicine postgrad program for anyone who might be interested. This program was created in 2002 and is widely recognized as the most comprehensive certification to becoming a veterinary social worker. And here are our references. And we just want to say thank you so much for your time, your attention, and the opportunity.
Wow, thank you.